Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the most negative no cooldown episode of all time, or what potentially could be. I don't know what's going on, but we here. I don't know, the Kendrick Lamar diss is in my head, so we just gonna get real negative with it, I guess. I'm that man Trip. Welcome back to No Cooldown Podcast. It's time to talk what's been going on from the past week, and there has been absolute fire and brimstone in the community on several different fronts. We gotta talk about it, we gotta get to it, but before that, gotta introduce my partner in crime on this podcast thing, Mr. Weneasy. What's going on, dog?
Chilling, man, chilling. Just, enjoying the amount of negativity that's been going on the past couple of weeks.
You've been loving it. Oh.
I've been thriving. It's like photosynthesis for me.
I can't even lie, bro. When negativity sounds like a Kendrick Lamar drop, I ain't gonna lie. This stuff sounding hot. I'm like, you know what? I understand why some of y'all rock with it, but we gotta at least try and have some positivity. But damn it, not this week. Not this time around, because I don't think there's that much positivity in the air right now. I'll be real. I don't think it's enough to be injected. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get to it, but make sure you have some positive thoughts before we get into all negativity. Do something positive by rating this podcast 5 stars on all audio podcast platforms. We're available on all major platforms. We're available on YouTube as well. Again, all socials except for Twitter is No Cooldown Podcast. On Twitter, it is No Cooldown Pod. Again, keep reminding me to change that in the comment section because I will keep forgetting. But outside of that, we got a lot of news to cover. We got to get right into it. We got to start with the main story, man. When is you ready?
Born ready.
Let's get started, man. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, I think if you haven't been under a rock over the past couple of days, especially the last day, you know Xbox is in deep water. As of yesterday, or the day before yesterday, they announced a lot of different closures, a lot of different, just shuttering of studios, a lot of different layoffs. So we're hearing Arkane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Roundhouse, Alpha Dog, they're shutting down. Mighty Doom is ending their service on the 7th. A huge wave of shutters that have come from ZeniMax, and just those studios are just no more. They cease to exist at this point, and there's been an egregious amount of uproar, an insane amount of uproar from this. Again, there's been questions on everything from, the rationale behind shutting down these studios, behind the timing with the acquisition and just all these different comments of where Game Pass sits, where everything sits. Xbox has been brought into question on a whole lot of different fronts. But before we get into all that, before we get into the details, just your raw reaction to all this stuff when?
Xbox is so fucking stupid. It's not even funny. Actually, I can't even say that because I really don't. No, actually, I can say that because they spent the better part of like 3 years just buying shit, just straight buying shit, nonstop. And now I gotta hear the, oh, woe is me, I don't get the bread for it. What the fuck was the point of buying it? You know what I'm saying? Like, if these studios had gone out on their own, if these studios had just been like, yo, we actually are going out of business because we just couldn't produce or whatever the fuck, like, okay, sure, I get it. But at least at that point, they had their own, like, the only people you could really blame is either them or the market. The fact that we're sitting here and watching, like, Xbox buy these people to then just sell them after making the biggest video game deal in history is truly, I think, just unacceptable. And I know that a lot of people wanted the Xbox deal to go through, like the Activision Blizzard deal to go through, and I understand why that shit was like sick in the short term. But this is exactly what I was afraid of all those years ago, is that they just were going to lose everything. Like they were buying all these companies to create this like unsustainable mega powerhouse, and essentially what happened with Embracer Group is what's happening with Xbox right now. It seems to be the same pattern of, I'm gonna buy a bunch of shit and try to make a lot of money, but the turnaround on making money on video games is so fucking slow that you have no other choice but to liquidate a lot of shit because you cannot possibly afford to run up the numbers. Like, you can't, it takes years, so many years to make a really good video game. And even when you make a really good video game, the money that one game generates is not going to be GTA levels of money. There's only one game that's ever done that, and it's GTA. And none of the companies that Xbox bought is fucking Rockstar. So I don't know what their plan was, or who they thought was gonna come through and save them. But I'm sorry, but like, Call of Duty is not your savior. Like, these games themselves have tainted histories. I myself will probably never buy a Call of Duty game in the near future again. And you're telling me that you spent billions of dollars to acquire something that isn't gonna make you money like that? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't get it. It's stupid. It's just stupid.
I'll circle back to them being, you know what I'm saying, just absolutely fucking washed right now. But I will focus on that first part. Again, this, in the back of my head, we were talking about, you know, them going through the acquisition phase and them trying to figure out what was going on. I still hold, and I feel like I'm pretty justified in this point, at this point now, saying that, you know, Call of Duty was a big reason, but I think an equal, if not bigger, reason was King. The Activision Blizzard King, the King part, the mobile division. Yeah. I feel like they were hell bent on getting Call of Duty under their belt and King, because that's surefire money in a mobile market that's continuing to explode, continuing to, again, continually uptrend at a very rapid rate, better than any part of gaming. Again, it's the fastest growing, it's the biggest segment, and they wanted to capitalize and get a huge foothold in there. So King, nothing with King is going to be potentially stuttered, because that's pure money. They have license print money with whatever. They can throw whatever IP at whatever King division, and something good will come of it, because it's fucking mobile gaming. So I feel like that was a big reason why they sprung forward. Call of Duty was the other, to have that, again, that IP that's just infinite money and stuff like that. But to kind of bring it back to why I'm pissed off is when we were talking about, again, where you were kind of like the pessimist, like you feared that thing, you feared these things from happening. I was on the opposite side. I was an optimist. I wanted competition between that, and I know how far the gap is between Xbox and Nintendo and Sony from a rough perspective. Again, it's more so on the Sony side, but Nintendo's, you know, they do their own numbers, but they're still up there. They're still considered one of the big three. But I was looking at it from the perspective of, this acquisition needs to be an additive. It needs to be an additive. And yes, there's going to be some, again, there's going to be some byproducts that they have to make sure that they navigate through these changes carefully, to make sure not, you know what I'm saying, as little people lose their jobs. Again, merger and acquisition always has job loss, which sucks, but mitigate that to make sure your talent and the value in these studios remains as much as possible. If you need to, again, absorb teams into resources, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, and you know, pull people over to you know, to a minimal degree, to kind of steer the ship and steady the ship, fine. But completely just dropping stuff out of the water like this is not additive. This is not adding to so many different things that Xbox has claimed with their brand, with where they want to be, with, you know what I'm saying, with Game Pass. We'll get to that side conversation in a second, but my gut reaction to this is so backwards to what you guys are, at least said you wanted to do or claimed you wanted to do over the past few years. It's such a backward step, and yes, they deserve every bit of slander and criticism that Embracer got. This is on the same tier, if not bigger, because they made much bigger, higher, you know what I'm saying, like higher money plays. They did all this. They scrounged 70 billion to get them under the wing, to get Activision under their wing. And they started off cutting 1,900 jobs out the blue. I'm like, damn, that's a heavy hit, man. Like, what's next? If this move wasn't an additive to help funnel value, time, and resources back into these other studios to continue to make Xbox a viable, diverse platform for games, what was the point? The point, of course, unfortunately always is, we just want to make money, and that's it. We just want to make the, you know what I'm saying, the quickest route to the money, and don't worry about it. When you hit it on the head when you said the funnel the return time, the return on investment for video games is so low because you have to build that value up over time. It's not an easy process, and they were just looking for how quickly we can move into an easy process. Get Call of Duty, start dropping Call of Duty. You know what I mean? And there's so many things that they're about to backtrack and renege on. I'm just very, very heated that they're running literally opposite of a lot of their claims of what they were trying to do, bruh. Again, we can get into some of this stuff now. Speaking on, again, our Arkane itself, again, they didn't have the best run with Redfall, but this is the first instance of them reneging on one of their statements and stuff like that. I remember there was something about a year ago or something like that. They were talking about they don't quit on their games, and they don't, you know what I'm saying, Bethesda don't quit on their games, and people don't want to push against their creative aspirations and stuff. Phil Spencer said a quote, I can pull it up later, but a lot of things are just like complete, like, you contradicted yourself with these actions today. The statements that you made and tried to build up and say and build credibility for, in one fell swoop, you literally removed all that credibility. You went exactly the opposite of what you set out to do. Like, if that's not damning to me, you know what I'm saying? If that's not damning, I don't know what is. At least at this point, I don't know. Let's find a place to start, because there's so much to address here. I want to start here though. So again, Arkane and Tango, they're like, you know, they're gone. And the next day, literally yesterday, this Matt Booty, who is again the head of Xbox Game Studios, there was a town hall just kind of to talk about certain things, and one of the biggest statements that came from this entire thing was, one, they wanted to kind of reallocate their resources to high impact titles. These changes, the quote was, these changes are grounded in prioritizing high impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games. And there's another quote in that town hall that also stated from Matt Booty, we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. So I'm looking at those two quotes in relation to each other, and I'm just like, what are you doing? When can you make sense of this, please? Your comments.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. They don't, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know what they want. They want money. That's all. That's what he really should have just came out here and said. Hey, it's like, hey, we want money. We want to maximize profits. That's why we did what we did. Like, I'm sick of these motherfuckers trying to pretend like they got a big plan ahead. No, it's just all money. Don't lie to us. We see right through. We're not stupid. Them saying shit like, you want awards? I'm sorry, Bethesda's not the motherfucker. That is not your savior. I don't know when's the last time Bethesda has made something that fucking moved the needle. Like, even I loved Fallout 4, probably one of my favorite games from them.
That wasn't moving no damn needle. Fun game, it wasn't moving no damn needle.
Great game, really cool. But like, even going back and like, my girlfriend is playing it for the first time, and she's like, I like the settlement system, but it doesn't really make sense in the long term. So I'm just sitting here like, okay, like, you see it, I saw it years ago, like, you guys just threw this in here, but you didn't really flesh it out. So it just doesn't make sense to be like, oh yeah, we got to focus on these blockbuster Bethesda titles. Essentially what he is saying is, we're putting all of our chips on Skyrim 6. We're putting all of our money on Skyrim 6. That's what we're waiting on. And wanting smaller titles to win awards is exactly what Hi-Fi Rush was, and then you killed it. Like, you guys just don't want smaller titles, because if you wanted smaller titles, you would not drop that studio. You would not drop, if I'm not mistaken, the man who made Hi-Fi Rush is the same person who made Resident Evil 4. I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, that's the same dude. And the fact that, like, I think there was a tweet that talked about it, and I really hope I'm not quoting misinformation, but the dude, essentially the tweet was saying that, like, when he was making Resident Evil 4, they went to Xbox, and Xbox like turned them away, and that's why Resident Evil 4 is on the Wii, because Nintendo was the one who gave them the funding for it, or something along those lines. But regardless of the fact, this motherfucker made Hi-Fi Rush. Let's talk about what he did make that we know for a fact. He made Hi-Fi Rush, banger game. Everybody loved it. It was literally beloved by everybody in the industry. I remember that month when it dropped, everybody was talking about it. So the fact that you say we need smaller titles, which is exactly what Hi-Fi Rush to win awards, which is exactly what it did, and then you drop the title, you don't want that. You don't want that at all. You want smaller titles to make you money. Those are the awards you want. You want the dollar signs, because Hi-Fi Rush was on Game Pass, so a lot of people did not buy it outright, and then you didn't put it on PlayStation, so nobody in that market was buying it, and anybody on PC also had Game Pass. So maybe you guys need to like read it, like think about your internal strategy on this shit, because you guys are not making sense at all.
Shit that's killing me is like, again, this is the obvious, like, you know, the first obvious gotcha out of a series of gotchas. It's like, bro, this literally won a Game Award, this won BAFTA, this has won several awards. Hi-Fi Rush won several awards over the years, and they were gearing up for a sequel. You're pushing out to other platforms. You were pushing this IP heavily, and you decided, oh man, bye. But it's confusing. So you want smaller games that give you prestige and awards, but you get rid of games that are smaller that give you prestige and awards. So what's the what?
So to clarify what I said earlier, the creator of Hi-Fi Rush was not. So the person I'm talking about is Shinji
Mikami.
Yeah, he is the producer of Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sorry, he was not the creator of Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
But like the fact that like you lost the motherfucker who produced Resident Evil 4 and produced like created Resident Evil 4 and then produced Hi-Fi Rush. Like, man, y'all not serious. Y'all don't know game. I don't believe y'all know game at all. Y'all know business. That's it.
And this is the crazy thing. There's so many like areas that they just like shot themselves in the foot. Like it's baffling. It's baffling. This is the first one. This is the first big one, because not only did you drop Tango, which is, again, we've said this before. I'll say this again. One day I'm actually gonna go into detail about this. They are one of the most creatively flexible studios that gaming has ever seen. They have done such amazing work with the team that they have. And for people saying, oh, it's not a small game or whatever, the whole thing was, again, it was developed over what, 4 or 5 years, but it had like 35 people on it max. Some people are telling me, oh, what's it called? Oh yeah, they got dropped because most of the team left after Mikami left or whatever. No, they didn't. Somebody who was actually there, you know what I'm saying, was saying, oh no, most of them still stayed. It was just really Mikami that left. That was it. And all these idiots in the comment section are trying to shill and defend for Xbox, saying, oh yeah, all the team left, they were just in a bad spot, blah blah blah. I'm like, dog, you're telling an actual guy who works there what happened. Bro, shut the fuck up. Shut up. You people don't know anything, bro. You're telling a guy that has actual work experience during the project of Hi-Fi Rush, who worked there, that he's lying. All right, bro. But that's a whole nother point for a whole nother day. But it's just crazy from a strategy perspective. And again, this ties back to the Xbox Game Pass conversation that we'll have in a little bit. Why would you have a service that is geared towards a variety and diverse array of titles, of selections, of different experiences that are presented to somebody that can bring immense value because of how much of a diverse spread of games that you have, only to take some of your most creative, diverse studios that have put out, you know what I'm saying, good stuff in the past and just chop them? Again, the reasoning that they gave was that these two studios, the two main studios, Arkane and Tango, they weren't in any production phase. They were in the pitching phase of their next game or whatever. Apparently Tango was looking for the sequel of Hi-Fi Rush, and apparently what's called Arkane Austin was looking to kind of scale back and go to one of their tried and true formulas, maybe go back to a Dishonored, maybe go back to something else. So apparently, or actually, it wasn't confirmed that we were going back into a Dishonored, but they said they wanted to probably go back to some more familiar IP after Redfall. So they were just in the pitching, and they just said, hey, listen, you're not working on anything, you guys are dropped, and that's it. But my thing is, why are you denying yourself of the one thing your brand needs? Credibility with games, credibility with experiences. Why have you reneged on that promise to build better, diverse experiences? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it makes no sense how you're gonna tell me Xbox is the best place to play games. We have the best lineups, we have the best this, we have the best that, but you continually put everybody in your umbrella on notice that if you're not making smash hits out of nothing, or you know what I'm saying, or you cannot instantly bring value into a whole industry that doesn't immediately bring value because of how strenuous and long game development can be, you're on the chopping block. what message does that send to everybody, to consumers, to your development teams, to everyone? What does that say? You don't care. That's what it says. But it's insane, bro. It's really wild to me, man. What the fuck? I'm just so confused. I'm so confused.
I just think that they're trying to chase big fish. I think that's really what it comes down to. They're trying to chase big fish, and maybe the Xbox model needs to be looked. The Xbox Game Pass model needs to be looked at itself. I love Xbox Game Pass because if I was a kid and I had Game Pass, I'd be fucking a pig in slop. I'd be fucking happy. I'd be so thrilled to have all these different games at my disposal, being able to go anywhere from like shooters to turn-based games, puzzle games. Like you have a huge list of games that you can play. But the fucking issue is that I don't think it translates to actual game sales. It doesn't translate to bringing value in the eyes of these people who don't play these games. Because the people who are making these decisions, I don't think are playing. Like, we know Phil Spencer plays a game, sure. Like he's the one guy, right? Are the executives playing video games? Does anybody even know? Has anybody on the higher ups ever played Rollerdrome?
The smaller ones, I don't know. The only one I could speak for is probably Phil Spencer. But Phil Spencer got his whole Fallout segment blown up literally this morning. So
as he fucking should, bro. Like why? And I think that they're really just straight up chasing big fish. And I think we talked about this shit last week, where I was like, I don't want Xbox to put all their chips in the Bethesda basket, because
literally
I don't think that those motherfuckers can deliver consistently like that. And the fact that we're losing three major studios. Wait, am I counting this right?
Two major studios, and I believe Alpha Dog got folded inward, so they're getting reabsorbed into other Bethesda studios.
All this shit is happening, and what am I gonna get out of it? Fallout 76 content? Like that's what I get to look forward to, is a game that failed, that you guys keep pumping money into to make it somewhat relevant. But the game is now free, so people aren't even really buying it now. Like it's free if you got a Game Pass subscription, which again begs the question: is that even really sales? And if it is sales, like I just don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what the metrics are. This shit doesn't make any fucking sense. And it seems kind of like this shit kind of feels like Spotify and artists, where Spotify is taking a lot of the money and artists are getting nothing, and they're just getting fucked over. So I don't know, man. If I have to give up on Game Pass so that I don't have to so that people can have reasonable ways of living their lives, that may need to happen, because this shit is just absurd.
It's just the contradictions, bro. I keep coming back to the contradictions. I don't understand. Again, back to the quote here. Just looking at the report from Jason Schreier and stuff. He broke most of this news, and then it got spread like wildfire all across the gaff. And just to look at the article, this section right here, I just want to read it, and I quote: "Speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company studios had been spread too thin, like, quote, peanut butter on bread, unquote, and that leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close the studios to free up resources elsewhere," he said. Stop. Everybody stop. Everybody stop. Why the fuck would you chase Activision Blizzard King down for so long and say, hey, they're going to be an additive, the IPs that they have, the potential that we have, you know what I'm saying? How are you saying that we're going to take good care of bringing them into the fold and boost up everything around us to bring their knowledge into the fold and bring all their resources into the fold and add to everybody's bucket, when literally the first sign of Satya Nadella or whatever the hell his name is saying, hey bro, you need to start making money. I spent 70 billion. Oh, we gotta cut this. You guys are gone. You're out of here. You're out of here. Literal contradiction. You were telling people you were prepared for this type of stuff. You were telling people you were going to give people the time, you're going to give studios the time, the love, the resources they need to make things happen, to create value, give them the time to create value. But look what happened. You drop at the, you know what I'm saying? You switch on the drop of a dime. You switched on the drop of a dime when it came to this. To me, it's disgusting. To me, it's disgusting how quickly they backtrack on their words. It's insane. And honestly, I will say, I'll take the note here, and everybody's been focusing on Tango. I do want, first and foremost, I do want to send my heartfelt you know what I'm saying, like just condolences, well wishes, everybody to who like got impacted with this stuff, for real. Like I hope you guys land on your feet. You guys, again, we say this damn near every time these shits happen. You are the lifeblood of what we enjoy. You are the lifeblood that makes this shit move. No, don't let nobody tell you different. Don't let none of these stupid ass bigwigs tell you different. You are the lifeblood of this gaming shit. So everybody's been talking about Tango. I do want to talk about Arkane. When you think about this, you know, everybody loves to rag on Redfall. Everybody loves to rag on Arkane for what they did last, and it's fair. I joined in. The shit was funny. I didn't like the game. But when you really look at it, you know what I'm saying? It's such a sad case because the vision of the game changed so much. It went from leader to leader and you know, did all these things. And Phil Spencer himself admitted that Xbox didn't help them enough. He didn't jump in and intervene to give them enough support and resources to at least get the game in a suitable state, even though it's not even what they wanted in the first place, what Arkane wanted in the first place. This is a game that they didn't want. They didn't want this thing to turn out how it was. Some type of, again, some live service slop with the vampire mask put over it. You know what I mean? They didn't want that. And they changed through so many leaders, so many different hoops in development. They had to just put it out and keep going. And Xbox, knowing this full well, sees this. Sees a studio that's made Prey, that's, you know what I'm saying, that's made Dishonored, that's done such great work in the industry beforehand. And you know what I'm saying, they drop all these quotes of like, oh yeah, but yo man, Bethesda, we're not, you know what I'm saying, what was it, Pete Hines saying, oh yeah, we're not gonna give up on the game just because it came out in a bad state, we're gonna keep going. Where's that Phil Spencer quote? Hold on, where's this damn Phil Spencer quote? I want to make sure I say this, bro, in full, from May 4th of last year. Shout out to Brian McCaffrey for dropping this quote, because I think it was very poignant as well. Quote, "One thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams. When a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi, when everyone thought they were probably going to do Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, to push their aspirations." Where are we at now? I bet much. Again, we heard that Arkane was pitching something else. They were pitching something else that could bring value. I think closing the studio is pretty against their creative aspirations. I think that's a pretty hard push, if you ask me. I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? When do I sound wrong on that? Is closing down the studio like a hard push against their creative aspirations?
Unless their creative aspirations were to be jobless, no, I don't think you're wrong.
What the fuck are we doing? And again, you put a lot of these devs through the whole Redfall cycle. They were subject to the different leadership changes, all the tumultuous times that game experienced. And when they want to try and do right and have a next shot at this and pitch whatever they pitch, God knows what it was, but not even a chance was given. Not even a chance was given to create value back for Xbox, back for Bethesda, back for ZeniMax, whatever you want to, you know, then attribute it to. It's just ridiculous. It's insane how badly they're stepping on the rakes that are on the floor, how much they're running into the own walls that they've put up, the own guardrails that they put up. They've run into them almost every time. It begs the question, bro, what is happening at the leadership level to just how are they moving how they move, bro? This brings, again, Wen said this shit like 2 weeks ago. He said it like 2 weeks ago or a month ago. You, the listener, you right now, lie on your resume. Lie, because a lot of these people, I don't think they're moving with the utmost urgency and awareness about what's going on at the top levels of Xbox. And I feel like in part it's that, in part it's absolutely not seeing the full picture and not rolling with a consistent strategy across what they're saying, what they're doing behind the scenes, how they're interacting with their studios. And another part of it is just greed. They have to sit there with again, they make a move, they have to sit there with Satya, and then they have to, you know what I'm saying, move how they move. They can't even protect themselves. So I can't let them off the hook, but it's just such a sad situation, bro. And the worst thing is, apparently we already heard reports that have been doubling down. There's more cuts on the way. They said Xbox is still cutting. They're still ready to, you know what I'm saying, cut people down from ZeniMax and all this other stuff. Like, it's just it's opened up Xbox to a whole lot of added pressure, you know what I'm saying, this deal, and they haven't been able to stand on their word. They haven't been able to stand on their business of actually supporting and creating value and establishing a healthy, sustainable funnel for all these games. And they promised they wanted to have all these games on Game Pass. They wanted to bring these, you know, blockbuster titles. They wanted to try and do it all. but they've done nothing to really set that up. They've done nothing to really nurture that, and they're only going backwards on their words. It's wild. I don't know, man. I don't know. Before we I'm saying get through, I do want to actually talk about again the Game Pass conversation. I got another quote I'll save to the end, but the Game Pass conversation is just fully interesting. Call of Duty, there's been more reports that saying its status is undecided on whether it will go to Game Pass or not go to Game Pass. That we don't know what's gonna become of it at this point. Executives don't even know what's gonna become of it, and that was a big sticking point of why they probably bought it in the first place, to have a big advantage of their service compared to others. What the hell? What is up with Call of Duty and Game Pass? Why are they at such a standstill?
Like, I don't want to make any speculations, but for me it feels like they don't want to put it on Game Pass because they know they need that game to sell now, because maybe the games that are on Game Pass just are not making enough money for them. You know, maybe they need Call of Duty to essentially fuel the Game Pass. But then it also just begs the question, is like, well, why don't you just increase the price of Game Pass? Why don't you do?
Oh, they're planning.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're
planning to.
But it's just like if this is not sustainable, why are we doing it? You know, why did you let us grow accustomed to something to then just like I mean, that's the whole plan, isn't it? Just you grow accustomed to it, you rely on Game Pass, now the price goes up, so you got to keep paying for it. But you're fucking with people's livelihoods at this point. Like you're destroying studios. Like at what cost are we? What are we sacrificing to get Game Pass to be what it is? You know, what is this the sacrifice that we are making for Game Pass? Because it's starting to look like it's too much. It's starting to look like it's not something that we can really sustain in the long term. And especially the simple fact that, like, the reason they bought Xbox and did this whole, not Xbox, they bought Activision, all this fucking years of deliberation going between countries and continents to have these fucking conversations just to get it, and then fire so many people. It's absurd. It's not like, this is really bad. This is such a bad look for Xbox. It's I really have no, like, the more you think about it, like the sadder it gets, because there's just it just keeps getting worse. And for what? For Call of Duty, for Overwatch, for fucking Diablo. I'm naming franchises that haven't been good in years. You know, we're putting money towards what? Fallout 76? Like what is all this for? The last game that I think I really enjoyed that came out of these acquisitions, Hi-Fi Rush was really fun. But like the last game I want to say actually that Bethesda made that actually moved me, and it wasn't even Bethesda that made it, Bethesda published it. I love Doom Eternal. That game was amazing.
Facts.
But Doom Eternal isn't gonna fund whatever the fuck yachts y'all need to buy. I just don't get it. And the thing that really sucks about this whole thing is that we're seeing some of the biggest layoffs in the world, right? Like the biggest layoffs in the history of this whole shit. And I have not heard not one person get a pay cut. You know what I'm saying? I have not heard one person be like, not one person from the upper echelon of this shit take a step down and be like, yo, bro, we fumbled the fucking bag. So like when I hear shit, people being like, yo, I'm sure this affected Phil Spencer the most. No, it fucking didn't. He has a job. He's playing fucking Fallout right now. People are trying to find jobs.
That shit pissed me off. Again, the guy Mikey Barr was at it again this week talking about, you know, what's it called? Yeah, you know, like, again, it's a tough situation. I don't know where that quote was, but he was like, oh, it's a whole ass long-winded response. But he was just talking about basically, you know, like Phil Spencer probably is feeling it too. You know what I mean? I bet money he's feeling it too. You guys should really, you know what I'm saying, like just look out for him and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. Just understand how he's feeling. It's not a, you know, it's not an easy situation for him. It's probably not an easy situation, but who gives a fuck what he has to say right now when all these people have lost their jobs? Who gives a fuck about his feelings right now when people are just literally got asked out and dissolved? Their livelihoods, their dreams, most likely, because a lot of them probably love games and the industry, is gone just like that. Tell me. I get he's a human being. Everybody gets he's a human being, but there's a lot of human beings in this direct situation who are well worse off than him. They are much worse off than he is. So who the fuck wants to consider the feelings of an executive when to push the button and still has a salary at the end of the day? Who does? Really? Like what it's just that again, people trying to rationalize stuff that, in my opinion, in the moment, in the you know what I'm saying, in the moment of actually looking at it, should not be rationalized. Why should we have to have a heart for the people at the top of the food chain that don't get affected by any of these decisions? They don't have any, you know what I'm saying, they don't have any backlash for any of these decisions. At worst, they get their payout like Bobby Kotick. They get their $375 million that could have been used to keep these studios alive. At worst, they get that. That's the worst they do. Like, the fuck? Oh man, it's so confusing, bro. And I think that's the hallmark of what Xbox is right now. It's confusing. It's really confusing. Externally, they're sending these messages of, you know, we want to be the best place to play games. We want to do this and that and da. But then the actions that show with you closing down studios, with the bad support for games, with the on the back foot and trying to get these certain games out, wanting games with small titles and acclaim, but you close down those studios who were small but had acclaim and awards. Like, it's confusing. It's confusing, bro. Just as a quick aside, to me, I don't know what they want. They want perfection in an environment where they cannot create any of it. They want perfection in an environment where they cannot create any of it. They want to focus all their money. They want to focus most of the resources on all these big priority project games, the same IPs, the same shit that you probably have done for the past decade and stuff like that. They want to put out these big blockbuster stuff, big blockbuster project and stuff like that. But at the same time, they want, for next to no money, they want these high impact titles like Balatro and stuff like that. That's what they want. That's what they want. They want hits to spawn out of thin air at the lower side with indie games and AA titles that cost next to nothing to make, and people just automatically love them. But then on the other token, they want to spend all their money on formulas that people are tired of. Like, you're expecting too much out of an environment that cannot bring those expectations to life. You cannot do that. You have to cultivate that. You have to take your time and cultivate value at every level. You have to let these devs cook. You have to give them the environment to succeed. If you want that, like that value returned back to you in dollar signs, you want to get to the dollar quicker. And that's causing you to kill off everything you're standing for, everything you're purporting yourself to be. Like, what the fuck? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. They're not moving with consistency. We talked about this too a couple episodes back. We talked about how they're building an ecosystem for access. But again, what's the one thing that's ailed them this entire, since the Xbox One era, what's the one thing? The one thing we keep telling them they need to have?
Good first party titles?
Yes, good first party title. Games. You need games. That's it. You just need to pay. You're doing good with the access point. You're finding your unique way into the environment, blah, blah, blah. It's understandable, wonderful. But if you do not have a great library of games, variety, good titles, you've made yourself, you know what I'm saying, seem like such a lover of small games. The brand has seemed so welcoming of small games with indie showcases and partnering with X, Y, and Z. But you're cooking your smaller games. You're sending them to the gulag after winning awards. What message did that send to, you know what I'm saying, that the non-blockbuster game titles, like maybe like the AA region or slightly smaller AAA thing? What about Avowed? What about Hellblade? What happens if they aren't like commercial smashes? What happens if they're done? What happens if they don't have the results that people, you know what I'm saying, at Xbox expect them to, and the rest of us don't know, because half of these games aren't even being marketed properly. They're not even being heavily pressed out there. What happens?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Hellblade cannot save you either. Like, the amount of pressure,
nothing will.
They keep and the thing is that they keep fucking up their chances. Like, Xbox keeps fucking up their chances and then keeps thinking that they can keep getting more. Like, let's look back at their first party titles that have been released on the Xbox. Let's start off with Halo Infinite, because I want to say that was like the one that really was like the beginning of this era. Halo Infinite came out, and that shit was amazing for multiplayer. It was like basically free to play, and it did not sell battle passes because the battle pass system sucked. The content was very lackluster, and the game did not run the best on PC. So it took them like 6 months to get to a good point, but at that point it was already over with. We moved on to the next big shooter. It was curtains. Then you get Starfall. Starfall comes out, What happens there? That shit is pretty fucking mid. Bethesda's saying, oh, we didn't have enough time to do the most ambitious version of the game that we really wanted to create. Meanwhile, Xbox is saying, like, we don't want we want to give people the amount of time they need, but it's contradictory to what Bethesda's saying. They say they didn't have time to create what they wanted. They had to reduce their ambitions. And I think genuinely that might have been that just might have been like one of those situations. I don't know who to blame there, because I want to blame Xbox, but at the same time, it could be Bethesda, because I could say the same thing about their ambitious settlement thing for Fallout 4, but Xbox didn't stop them. You know, at that point, they didn't deliver a really good system with that. And then we also get Redfall, which was really, really highly anticipated, that came out shitty, and nobody really wanted, and nobody really played that shit because it looked awful and played awful. So it's like, you guys have fucked up. That's like 3 major game announcements. And I will say, even though we took Redfall out of the equation, that's still 2 major games that you guys fucked up on release. Like, absolutely destroyed on release. So where like, something needs to change. I don't know who needs to change, but something needs to change, because you guys are obviously not giving people the amount of time they actually need to get this shit done. You guys are saying you are, but there's just not, the proof is in the pudding. The games you keep coming out with are half baked. I think one of the best games that I've played from the Xbox, I'd have to like look into it. The only complete game that came out was Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like actually, that's like the only first like exclusive that I can think of that was actually
really
only good on release.
And it's unfortunately it's the only one that got shadow dropped with no real run up into their release. Who knows what impact it would have had if it was, like, you know, off rip marketed, or had some type of airplay, or was multi-platter, went to the Switch at least. On drop.
I don't understand why they did it. Like, I understand wanting to do the whole like exclusive. I'm sorry, you're not. And Phil Spencer himself said it. Like, we're not moving units. We're not winning the console war. So why the fuck aren't you putting it? And why aren't you trying to make the most money out of the games that you create? Like, what are you trying to get people to sign up for Game Pass? But then again, the question is, if you're just trying to get people to sign up for Game Pass, how much money is Game Pass really making you? You know, like what? The numbers are, it doesn't make sense.
And it's such a weird, again, that's such a weird question to ask, because I don't think anybody really knows, because they'll post the numbers about, oh yeah, we hit 200 million players on Xbox Game Pass for Hi-Fi Rush or some shit like that, or 100 million players, and they get closed down. What the fuck does it really mean? What benchmarks do these studios actually have to hit? What are the actual metrics of ranges of acceptable, unacceptable, fair, quality, not quality? Where is the line for these things considering Xbox Game Pass? When it was, again, somebody said it too, when it was booming, it was wild west, it didn't fucking matter, because everybody was getting money, because everybody was getting airplay on Game Pass when everybody was subscribing. Now that that's slowed down, what is the system? What is the actual method? What's the mode here? What is the outlook on achievement? What is the outlook on progress, and you know, some type of metric that the devs can go off of? Because I don't even think the devs know. I really don't think devs understand, or just whoever runs these studios has an understanding of that feedback. You know what I mean? I don't think Xbox knows. I really don't think Xbox fully gets where they're trying to go with it, bro. It's too many lines, that too many cross wires, man. It's too many cross wires, and it's just created this confusing picture where they're tripping over themselves. They're tripping over their feet every single fucking time, whether it be in their expectations, whether it be in their execution, whether it be in their lack of support, lack of consistency. It's so frustrating. I want a competitive environment, because that breeds the best out of gaming, but it's been continually proven that the people who make these decisions at the top, and not just at Xbox, are very, 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 very fucking greedy and fucking stupid, because I don't understand how you run into these walls over and over again. It's baffling to me. It's baffling how you look at that and you carry on. I want the best for Xbox. I want the best for PlayStation. I want the best for Nintendo. I love this shit. I love this video game shit. But then you wake up and you see that people who've done good for you get cut out of your brand, and you try to make sense of that, and you're just stuck. You're stumped. You're at a loss. You're sitting there in a wall. Like, what's the point? I don't know. Where do they go from here? Where do they go?
The fucking trash can is what they go. No, I mean, like, the problem is that, like, we don't really have that competition. Like, at the end of the day, there's only really two people in this space that are really fighting against each other. It's PlayStation versus Xbox, because Nintendo has made their own lane, and they're not really gonna get pressured from either company. So, like, the question is really like, what can they do? I think they really need to stop. Like, I don't know. Like, they're kind of in like such a too big to fail kind of a stage, where at one point I want them to say, hey, we're going to fund all these studios and give them the love and the care that they need. But unfortunately, this isn't going to be the last set of layoffs. So what I think is going to happen is more people are going to get laid off, and hopefully they get to a point where they can actually sustain it. And maybe here's a thought: we stop buying shit. You know, we stop putting money towards shit. Maybe people like fucking Bethesda can make their own money, but it sucks because you already bought these. Like, I don't know what they can do. Like, we're gonna lose a lot of more companies at this point, and all Xbox can really do is like lower their costs. Maybe some people like Phil Spencer need to take a pay cut. Maybe the people at the higher ups need to not get fucking bread, because it just it's not viable. They need to get money from somewhere else outside of the people who are making the actual fucking games, because it doesn't make sense to cut out the studios making the games when you're a game making company. Like, your bottom line comes from people buying video games. So why the fuck are you fucking the people that are making the money for you? Yeah, I would like, the only way they could really regain trust in me, Xbox that is, would be to see something like a pay cut, or like, hey, I'm stepping down, or people are stepping down, or people are stepping away, because it's obviously that this little ship you guys got cannot be sustained. But I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna keep cutting studios. They're gonna keep trying to get games on Game Pass so that we stay on Game Pass, and we're just gonna see a lot of good game companies get shuttered. Like, there's a lot of people who make like world-renowned games that will not see the next year because of corporate greed. But you know what we will get? Some skins on Fallout 76.
fucking stupid, bro. I'm gonna lead this conversation here with a quote and a note. This is from Dinga Bakaba. Again, he's one of the main figureheads at Arkane Lyon in France. I think he's just the co-creator director. Shout out to him. He's done a lot of great work. I think they're working on the Blade game right now. He dropped this quote on Twitter on the 7th. He said, and I quote, "This is absolutely terrible. Permission to be human. To any executive reading this, friendly reminder that video games are an entertainment/cultural industry, and your business as a corporation is to take care of your artists/entertainers and help them create value for you." That is very, very poignant. That is very, 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 very poignant. There's a disconnect between it's always been a disconnect between what executives want and what sustainable, healthy gaming can allow. And we gotta do better. We gotta do better to protect it. And by we, I mean you, gaming executives. I mean all of you. Because again, while the dividends and all stuff like that may look nice, you're gonna end up tearing down something you cannot build back. You cannot keep tilling and tilling and tilling at the crops and expect the soil to keep growing back in a week. You can't do that. You have to give time and actual protection to the people and things that create value in this industry, or else you're never going to have sustainable, truly sustainable practices and business. It's not possible. It's not possible. And again, maybe Xbox is too big to fail. Maybe, I don't know, but there's just some things just intrinsically at the belief level, their vision level, that it's something missing, bro. They're never gonna catch up if they don't understand. It's not the race to be, the highest valued. It's not the race to be, the most money making. The stats and all that other bullshit. It doesn't matter, bro. Unfortunately, they draw so many parallels to like music and everything like that. Like, bro, none of us give a fuck about the numbers game, all that shit like that. Yes, whatever y'all do, we don't give a fuck about that. We want sustainable, so this thing can last the next 10 years, 15 years, 35 years, 55 years, 75 years, when I'm dead and gone, all the way into the next generation. On the track that we're running, we're going to be in a really, really, really destitute fucking place with games if things like this continue to happen, where we kill art, where we kill, again, just creativity at the expense of staying fiscally fit. It's bullshit. Fix up, man. Ridiculous. I can't believe we spent rate this shit 5 stars. We spent damn near 45-50 minutes on this shit, bro. Xbox, I need to tighten up, bro. I don't know. I don't know how people can sit there and you know, I can't be excited for the Xbox showcase fully. I can't do it because I don't know how many of these games are gonna be like, you know, taken out if they don't do well. You know what I mean? Shit.
Yeah, like it's gonna be sad as fuck at E3 when they're announcing games and we gotta sit there and be like, wow, I wonder how many people who worked on these games are like jobless right now.
It'll be exciting for about like 3 seconds, and then the next episode will come back and see like, oh shit, you know, half of these games are still, you know what I'm saying, might not even be here. Half of the studios that made these games might not even be here in the next 5 to 10 years because, you know, they might not have sold to the levels of Call of Duty. Like, what the fuck? It's so, the game backwards, bro. The game is so backwards.
And it's so interesting, like even seeing how many people work on like one game. Like even like I beat like a Dragon Infinite Wealth the other day, and I'm like waiting through the credits to watch the end cutscene, and I'm like sitting here and I'm like seeing all of these names come through, and I just can't imagine having all these people collaborating on one project and expecting to make $1 bajillion at the end of it, as if all these people don't need to get paid fairly, you know? Like that's the problem with a lot of game like higher ups, is that they see the finished product and they're like, oh, money, but it's like, no, there's so many people that need to get paid and taken care of for you to be able to make this money.
Yeah, so much has to change about our perspective on games, bruh, especially at the AAA level. So much has to change. These aren't just fucking science projects and art and the little art projects and stuff like that you do and then get dropped and get a return. This is real art. This is real, like, this is a real creative endeavor, a strong, one of the toughest creative endeavors you can ever set upon, and everybody has to be treated with respect in that process to truly give the art the respect it deserves. You know what I mean? It's just like, we got to change our perspective about so much shit, how we approach development, how we approach creating value, how we approach, again, maintaining and preserving value, just our outlook on the industry in general. You know what I mean? And again, executives specifically, it has to be about sustainability now. It has to be about creating art and creating sustainable, you know what I'm saying, sustainability in that art, so we can see another day, so shit doesn't get closed down every other fucking day. You know what I mean? It's just gotta change.
Yeah.
All right, we can roll on, baby. We started off hella negative. Damn. Oh my gosh, let's get to some of the quick bites where I'm sure the negativity will keep rolling. And speaking of, we have a report from this morning. Warner Bros. Discovery was talking about, you know what I'm saying, Unalive the Justice League. Y'all know what that one is. And basically, they said they were disappointed with the sales. They were disappointed with how that game was performing. And it apparently contributed to a $200 million hit to revenue. When?
I think there's more to that than just this game, but
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Warner Brothers. I mean, it's because you guys make all the best decisions in the world right now. I also really find it hard to believe that the people who made the Arkham series sat down and said to themselves, hey, I know we made third-person action single-player games that were well-renowned and everybody loved us for it and we loved making them. Let us totally turn this into a multiplayer live service shooter. Like, I really don't think that it's very fair to say that that was all Rocksteady's idea. But until Rocksteady, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, until Rocksteady says something, I guess I can't really be like Warner Bros. It's really their fault. But I can't imagine making something people literally saying this is genre defined, this is a generational type of game, and then being like, we're gonna go the opposite route that most big publishing companies enjoy the most. Like I genuinely do not see that being Rocksteady's fault. But
the two founders of Rocksteady leaving during this project's production said enough for me. That
yeah,
definitely said
like,
enough for me.
But go ahead, blame the game, because that's what it was.
Yeah, like it's crazy to me. Again, this is another theme that's coming through this episode. Our perspective needs to shift. As much as a lot of these dummies see developers online and find their Twitter handles and stuff and go spew a bunch of bullshit at them, you need to find the handles of these executives, the numbers of these executives' office. Some of them might not be on Twitter, but go find them. The internet's a very, very findable place. Go find, you know what I'm saying, emails or whatever, and let them know. Give them a piece of your mind, because they're the ones making the decisions on this. Again, I have to agree. Do you really think that the people behind the Arkham series would do a live action shooter only? You know what I mean? A live action shooter, a live service game, live service game, not a live action one. But do you think they would switch up their whole formula just to get in on the live service cash grab? Do you really think they would? Do you really think these developers that are just focused on creating the most fun experiences possible, and a lot of them are, again, they're just like us, they want to see some dope shit being made in games, they have the talent to do it, that's the only difference, you know what I mean? Like, bro, it's funny saying they disappointed they contributed to it. That's funny, because you literally created that. You like it's so slimy. It's so slimy. It makes no sense how consistently shitty executives are in any creative industry, let alone gaming. The word of the day might be baffling, bro. Not surprising, might be similar, but it's just like, why, bro? We knew it was gonna be a, you know what I'm saying, whatever. You guys are, Warner Brothers is funny. They're a funny company, man, and they're gonna raise prices on what's it called, HBO Max. Bum ass company. Shit is ridiculous, man. We're gonna get on to the next one here. 50. Let's talk about Elden Ring, man. Let's talk about how Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree will be the only DLC for the game. Yes, Miyazaki has taken to the media just to, you know what I'm saying, put some markers and brackets on the development cycle for Elden Ring. He said, hey, listen, there is no second expansion. This is all you're getting, but potentially could be something in the future in terms of a sequel. But this first DLC, that's all we're getting. How you feel about this news?
I think it's fine. I think getting one DLC is fine. Like, the last thing you would want is 7. Like, the last thing you would want to find out is that there's like 4 other DLCs, and it's all because like they chopped this from the original game. But I think this is also a preference thing. I'd rather just buy a second game than buy a DLC, because from what I've had from Elden Ring 1, that amount of content, all the shit that was in that game, really fucking good. I think it's so replayable. It's very much replayable. I remember halfway through my playthrough, I was like, I kind of want to restart and play a different kind of character. So personally speaking, I think that this game needs a sequel more than more DLCs. I think getting one DLC, and what it sounds like this DLC is going to shape up to be, is going to be really fun. I'm really happy for the community. I think they're going to have a lot of fun with this DLC, but I don't think we need multiple DLCs of this one game. I think an Elden Ring 2 would be better, because they already have the base game solidified, they have the systems down, they just need to expand on it. And honestly, I don't think it would take the same amount of time that it took for the first Elden Ring game to be made.
Yeah. This is don't want to sound salty or whatever at this point, but you know, a game that's only dropping one expansion, calling it quits when they put all their quality work into an experience, and you know, knowing when to call it, that seems like a pretty sustainable company. I don't know. I could look crazy to some people, but this what it is. I'm completely fine with this. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with that you know, experiences begin and they end. That's it. Some things are not meant to be forever. Some things are not meant to last a whole lifetime. And the amount of quality and the amount of just impact that they've dropped with Elden Ring has been nothing short of an immaculate job. It's done so well. I can't wait to jump into, again, the you know what I'm saying, I guess the land of the shadow, the land, I don't know what it is in the lands in between, but you know what I mean, like this shit I can't wait to jump into, and I'm glad I'm glad that this is the only expansion, because you can put enough quality into it. You put all your effort into this and say, hey, we did everything that we wanted to do with this. If we come back in a sequel, we'll come back with some more stuff. But right now, that's all we have to give. I love putting brackets on it. I love creating a conclusive experience rather than trying to drag you along for some extra stuff that might not hit. So I think FromSoft is doing the right thing, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a jam-packed, very fun expansion, and we leave off on a high note. All right. So moving on here, we had a real quick read of some things that might be coming through to Halo Infinite, and I think they're getting Helldivers. It's a weird quote, but it's a funny thing that I guess they were just like a Forge, kind of a Forge group. They're called the Forge Falcons and stuff. They're kind of like a whole map that they were creating. They call it Hell Jumpers, but it's kind of a whole new map with some, you know what I'm saying, with some cool additions to it. It's kind of looking like a Helldiver style. Some pretty creative things that's coming from that side in Halo Infinite, which is, again, they've been thriving ever since Forge finally got their legs, in my opinion. But how do you feel about Halo getting some Helldivers?
Hey, you know, whatever helps the Halo community, man. Like, I'm happy that people are cooking with the with Forge, but I don't really want to be Master Chief in Helldivers. I feel like that defeats the purpose of it. I don't know how it's really gonna play out. Like, that's what sucks, is that, like, this is the shit Xbox should be funding. Like, this is the shit that, like, Xbox should be put money into, as opposed to fucking more Fallout 76 shit. It's be like, hey, why don't we just, like, hire a team to do Helldivers but with Halo? Like it was pitched years ago, but instead, like, the actual community is doing it. So shout outs to them. Go crazy. I don't know how this build's really gonna be. I hope it's great. I'm not re-downloading Halo Infinite to save my life, so we'll see what happens.
I still gotta re-download Halo Infinite, so I might give it a shot, because it sounds like it's really actually, like, they have, like, all the, like, the in-game progression, actual systems, the boss fights. Like, they have a whole, like, infrastructure to this experience, which is interesting. Just off GP, I would love to actually try it out and stuff like that. I'm glad that they're finding some footing with their creative, you know, exploits and creative efforts in Halo Infinite. So I'm glad Forge doing well, and this is really cool. And again, there was mods of Master Chief in the actual Helldivers game anyways on PC. So you know what, everybody's winning in some way. I love it. Helldivers to the world. All right, let's keep it pushing here. Let's give a second to talk about EA and Andrew Wilson, EA CEO, had a talk in either an investor call or some meeting. There was just talk on Battlefield, guys. Battlefield. There was a quote from Andrew Wilson about his playtime with the next Battlefield that's coming through, and I quote, "I've just spent a whole bunch of time with the collective Battlefield team playing what they're building, and there's going to be another tremendous live service." Again, it's just another Battlefield game, but him saying that at the end is hilarious. When just, I guess, what do you expect from the next Battlefield and it being a tremendous live service?
No. No, I don't believe that at all. As somebody who, I've had my hands on the most previous version of Battlefield, and let me tell you, the team did not do a tremendous job with that one. I don't want another live service from EA, a company that's very well known for fair consumer practices. I don't think that this is something that people have been asking for. And I'm a huge Battlefield fan. If Battlefield never made another game, I think I would be fine. And the reason I say this is because I just don't trust y'all to make. I don't trust y'all to make a good shooter these days, like a good consumer-friendly shooter. Like, look at what we got now. We got Battlefield 2042, which was what cheap on release. It's better now. It's definitely better now, but it's definitely not the best. And we have Apex Legends, which has literally been dead for like 3 years. It just doesn't know it yet. So, yeah. If you guys want to make some shit, go for it. But I don't believe you guys are making a good live service anything.
Yeah. Do you think I'm gonna believe that another tremendous live service? Really? You think that's the words that are gonna sway me? You think words are gonna sway me about Battlefield? Okay. All right. Calm. Understand your jib. I don't like the cut of your jib, dog. I really don't, bro. Like, this is no. No, I'll believe it when I see it, and I doubt that. You still owe my man's $90. What's happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we still got some shit to discuss. Listen, bro, Battlefield, good luck, because again, you're fighting from underneath, literally. Y'all literally had a great chance to reassert yourselves with 2042, and you guys have been playing the catch-up game ever since. Why has it become such a hallmark of any, like, the Battlefield, Battlefront? Like, damn, bro, y'all launched so bad, you gotta keep fighting back. Yeah, you're good games in the end, but why is it in the end? Why couldn't we have any relative semblance of quality in the beginning? Damn. Like, I want the best for y'all, but y'all be bullshitting, bro. Y'all be bullshitting. I want y'all to thrive, but y'all gotta tighten up. That's it. Andrew Wilson's words ain't gonna help. All right, let's keep it pushing. Let's talk about Resident Evil 9. A potential rumor that has been surfacing around and around is that we could see Resident Evil 9 drop in January 2025. Apparently, we've heard that it's been in development for about 67 years, and it's been like, you know, the biggest budget, the longest development time of any Resident Evil game, and we could be seeing a reveal really soon, potentially at the Summer Game Fest, E3 season, sometime along that pathway. But Resident Evil 9 could be a thing. You know what I'm saying? Could be coming sooner than we think. How do you feel, Win?
I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty dope. I used to get really mad about Resident Evil announcements just because, like, I felt like every year Capcom would be like, hey, new game, and I get really excited because it's Monster Hunter, and it's not Monster Hunter, it's Resident Evil again. But a Resident Evil 9 I think would be actually pretty sick. I know what they've been doing with the genre. They've been cooking like Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 7, like the newer games, and then even the remakes are just phenomenal. I still need to play the remake of Resident Evil 4. But definitely they've been doing great things on that side. So I'm not mad at it whatsoever. I think that they're going to do really good things, and I really can't wait to see what they have in store, because where can they go after Big Dommy Mommy, you know?
Oh man, I'm about to say some of the freak bulls, you know what I'm saying? Some of the freak bulls will say the only way is up, you know what I mean? Well, we don't know. We don't know where they could take it. But I don't know. With the talk about them possibly going open world, we don't know where the plot might take us. Maybe we'll go in the what's her name, Rose, the baby, the former baby who had like her own DLC. I'm pretty sure it's Rose. Like we'll go into her shoes and see what happened when she's like fully grown and she's like could be an agent working for, you know what I'm saying, working with Chris's organ, stuff like that. Who knows where we could take it, but they have a lot of good direction that they could go into. I'm genuinely excited for what they bring next, because they've dropped nothing but quality stuff, you know what I'm saying, for a long time. Reverse multiplayer, that's a whole different thing. We're not talking about that. I don't even know when that's coming out, but Resident Evil 9 mainline single player joints, they're doing good so far, so we'll see. Actually looking forward and expecting something solid from that. All right, let me roll on to some, I guess, indie stuff. Well, technically not indie stuff, but new stuff that we're just now getting some eyes on. Let's talk about Project DT. Project DT is a new game, upcoming AAA action game coming from a Chinese studio titled Digital Sky. You know, there's just a lot of just talk surrounding it, or a lot of just, you know, new information that we're getting, because it is a brand new game. Again, players going to be taking control of a girl forced to kind of be a hero in some sci-fi world. Not sure, it's kind of a human machine cyborg blend. It's super actiony. I love a lot of the Puja's gameplay. She's throwing hands like never before. A lot of elemental stuff in there. The game looks really sharp. When, how you feeling about this?
It looks really dope, and I think that, like, the next couple years, I think the Chinese market is really gonna dominate. Because looking at these AAA, like, they're giving us the shit that the American market doesn't want to, which is just good action adventure games. And of course, I could be wrong. I may eat these words in a couple years when this comes out and everything is microtransactions. I may be wrong about that. But if these come out like your PlayStation 3 era action adventure titles, where it's like, yo, here's a good game for a solid price, and it's not a cash grab, then it's going to be real quiet for the American market, because they're just afraid of giving people a quality product. But guess what? That's why the rest of the world is gonna do that for us. Facts.
And we talked about it on this podcast before, and I've been a huge proponent of Eastern studios and this next wave of Eastern studios really doing their damn thing. I think I cited before Where Winds Meet, Rise of the Ronin, which was solid, but it has some of its issues, but it is a solid drop. And what's it called? Black Myth Wukong, that is dropping this year. I think that's the opening wave of a lot of like, you know, an influx of action titles from the East that a lot of new studios are popping up and really starting to push out. And I can't wait. I love the action vibe from a lot of these games. I love the aesthetics from a lot of these different games, and Project DT really fits into that. Again, where we see, you know, other stuff with like weapons and stuff like that, she's throwing straight hands. For one, I love that. The the combat flow looks really, really cool. I like the elemental influx and stuff. I can't wait to hear more about this stuff with the story. I don't know what, you know what I'm saying, what characters or what, you know, the story flow, narrative, the dialogue is gonna look like, but I can't wait to see stuff like this. She's fighting a big ass, it looked like a damn Metal Gear low key, but this is fire. This is fire. I like this. I like this feeling. I like this feeling. I want to see more. Again, Digital Sky, you got my attention. You got my attention. All right, let's slide on and talk about unfortunately a project that has been axed, Project Kestrel from Remedy, their co-op multiplayer project. They have announced that they are shutting that down. They had a small team that was working on it. I know we had an initial burst of information talking about them working through it. Again, kind of like in that controlled universe, I believe that was kind of in their plans, but yeah, unfortunately it has been axed. One quick note on this.
It's very unfortunate to see. However, I do think that Remedy's doing pretty well. They may have to cut one thing to focus on their established franchises. It's sad to see them not like expanding on shit, but I also think that they may not be trying to put too much on their plate. So I'm gonna give them grace on this one. It is sad, but I can't see them doing this for any reason outside of like, hey, we just need a little bit more capacity. And who knows? They may loop around to this idea, or they may come back and revisit this. But it is a little unfortunate. But Remedy, man, y'all keep cooking. I can't hate y'all. I can't hate on y'all when I'm seeing what the shit Xbox is doing.
Bro, literally, man. And it just the thing on top of, they're not succumbing to the curve, you know what I'm saying? They're not succumbing to the trend, the wave that is on, that's rolling through. In my opinion, which I've said this multiple times and I will continue to say it, co-op gaming and co-op paired with live service stuff or insulated co-op experiences in general, they're going to be the next big wave in gaming. It's starting to ramp up as much as possible, I think, over the next 6 months to a year, and then we're going to see really it start popping up over the next 2 to 3. I think co-op experiences are really going to start taking shape because people don't want the bog standard, you know what I mean? They don't want the regular package of a live service game or a multiplayer game. I feel like co-op really is taking precedent and is going to mesh with a lot of different strategies of companies and could serve as a happy medium between creating you know, a really inviting experience that isn't like, you know, cookie cutter, and also it has some sort of live service requirements and stuff that everybody else can, you know, the big wigs in the companies say, oh, we can put these microtransactions on there and we'll feel happy at the end of the day. I take Helldivers as, you know, saying the best possible case scenario of that type of wave that we'll be seeing. It's multiplayer, it's co-op, and you know what I'm saying, it's very well connected, well made, but there's also a little hint of microtransaction things there if you wanted to opt into that thing if you want. That's the best possible case scenario, but that wave is getting stronger, that wave is coming, and we're seeing things like that. So I respect Remedy for, you know, stepping back and saying, hey, this might be beyond our capacity right now. We might not, you know, want to fully go through with this. We can just focus on, you know, the Control universe, getting our legs under us, really getting some momentum with the next couple games that we drop, and then maybe revisiting it when the time's right. Yeah, man. Yeah, y'all good, Remedy. Y'all be all right. But let's talk about Dubai. Let's talk about Dubai, man, because apparently they were, you know, just launching a brand new initiative, a brand new 10-year gaming visa initiative to kind of attract a lot of people across game development, publishing, design, animation, and content creation, to kind of, you know, move to the area and just kind of stimulate that section of their market. Their plan is to kind of create 30,000 game industry jobs in Dubai over the next decade or so. Interesting times, man. How do you feel about this?
Don't be surprised if you see no cooldown in Dubai.
Hey, listen.
If we have to make the move.
You see me on that dirt bike, mind your business, bro. I'm riding dunes on my work break. Don't worry about me, gang.
Like we gotta get to the studio. Let's hop in the no cooldown Lamborghini.
Straight like that, bro. The blue and whites with the icicles on it, bro. They don't know. think it's a game, bruh.
That's gonna be so funny. We got spinners that are the new no cooldown logo.
We going crazy, bruh. I'm about to have a no cooldown eagle. I'm about to have a no cooldown eagle that delivers the news to me by messenger. You know what I'm saying? Not a messenger pigeon, but a messenger eagle. He gonna hop down on my forearm and drop a whole little scroll of information, and we gonna read the news off like that way, one by one. We're gonna have like 30 topics in episode when we get over there, bruh. And just gonna do the route. And drop on my forearm, bro. It's gonna be heat. I promise y'all. It's over. It's over for y'all. Oh shit. But I think this is actually pretty interesting though. I'm glad that gaming is getting recognized across the world as a viable venture. Hopefully Dubai can make a sustainable venture out of this and continue to support, what I'm saying, with that. They want to basically stimulate $1 billion increase in their GDP through gaming. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. I love hearing about when nations try to invest in art, invest in creativity, invest in gaming to create just viable avenues for people to travel down. I really do enjoy that. I'm trying to remember it wasn't exactly gaming, but I believe it was the orange economy. I don't know if it was in Brazil or if it was in Colombia. I think it was in oh my gosh, it might have been Colombia. I'm not sure. I did a report about this years ago. But basically they were just like fostering their creative environments, their creative industry. They were doing they had a lot of protections and things in place in Latin America to kind of help promote those, to protect those, to make sure they weren't exploited, and they had the proper resources that they need to make art because they understood the cultural importance of creativity. You know what I mean? So I love seeing that kind of being spurred onto the world, not necessarily the idea itself, but just supporting creativity and supporting gaming. So I like this. All right, let's slide on. Let's talk about EA yet again, because apparently they're dropping 2 unannounced titles that we don't know about for sure for this fiscal year. So from now of this recording, which is somewhere in May of 2024 to March 31st, 2025. So we have 2 titles in store that are somewhat unknown. One of them apparently may be Dragon Age Dreadwolf. We might finally get Dragon Age Dreadwolf in the next year. The other one is completely unknown. When? How do you feel about Dreadwolf? And do you know what the other one is?
I think the other one is going to be their newly acquired licensed game, Rayman.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
No, but I think that we're gonna get. I think Dreadwolf's gonna be dope, but I feel like it's gotta be something, and maybe bold prediction, something from the It Takes Two studio, like maybe something along from that kind of a space. I haven't seen anything like it yet. We haven't heard anything from there, but I can't imagine somebody who made a game of the year not get a green lit for another game.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting take. I haven't heard from them in a good little while, man. What's it called? Hazelight with Joseph Ferris and stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting take. I think it's kind of like a Shaq and Kobe situation. We'll get like again a AAA scale game, which I think is Dreadwolf, and then we might get a smaller one. I tend to agree. I like that take. I like that. I think we will get something smaller, like something from Hazelight, more of an indie-ish thing to kind of go 2 and 2. They have all the sports tiles that they're dropping and stuff like that. Tales can Zao drop, so we might get one smaller one to kind of like prime everybody for what's coming after, and we might get Dreadwolf in early 2025. I think that sounds about accurate. And moving on to the last piece of quick bites that we can get onto, let's talk about Nintendo, baby. Nintendo, as they usually do, they do not care about your rollouts, announcements, and excitements, because they will drop announcements on their own time at 2:49 in the morning. Nintendo said, hey, it's me. So on their Twitter account, they said, it's the president. We got an announcement about the next Switch, but it'll come in the next fiscal year. We'll figure it out later. But apparently there's been new reports today suggesting that it won't come out until at least after April 1st of 2025. So we're seeing maybe like summer 2025, maybe fall 2025. How do you feel about at least this confirmation of the date range of when we'll hear about the next Switch?
I think it's pretty. I think it's good. I think it's on a good track. I mean, we've been waiting for a new Switch for a while now, but even just hearing like, hey, you'll hear more about it within the year. Valid. Like, don't tease it. Like, I'm happy they didn't do some like wild ass like, hey, here's a trailer or whatever the fuck. Like, just hey, you guys will hear about it soon. Don't worry about it. I am not super crazy excited about a new Switch because I don't know if I got money for a new Switch, but I do think that it's past time now. We kind of need something now.
Yeah. I think they're pushing a little bit with the next year, but I mean, if they're doing this to fix up some of the capabilities in the online and really tighten it up for production, cool. I'm fine with that. But if you're not, all right, come on, son, what are we doing? All right, come on, man, you gotta tighten up. But yeah, honestly, they are not rushed. They don't have to be rushed. They're on their own time right now. I think it'll show up in due time. Yeah, I'm glad they just got ahead of the curve and said, hey, we will announce it before, you know what I'm saying? The announcement will come before the fiscal, which I likely think it'll be in the fall. I think it might be like an October thing. It's like some random direct or some random treehouse in like October or September, and then we'll get that notice, and then we'll probably get like I could see it being like a mid-April. When did the first Switch come out? In 2017. What month did it drop? Let me see. It was March 3rd. 2017. So I would not put it past them dropping a Switch Successor, a Switch whatever, on April. And what we've seen with the what's it called, previous consoles, they dropped in November both times. The Wii U was November 18th, the Wii was November 19th. So it's either November or April for me. I think they might have switched their trend with the last Switch release. I could be wrong, but I could definitely see an April release date being that, being that time frame, April 2025.
Yeah, I think if the game is going to drop, it's going to be in the holiday season. But I do think we'll probably get an announcement. Like, I would love for them to just drop it in like a March date. Like, I would love for them to do it in the spring or the summer, because I feel like that's the best time for that. Just so I wouldn't have to waste all of my money like in the freaking fall season. But I can see the announcement. If the announcement is like end of the next like fiscal year, so like March, then I see them dropping it that same like winter.
Yeah, I can see that. But Switch 2, whatever you do, you got all the time in the world, bro. We gonna be here as long as we got some good reset value on the original Switch. Then we'll, you know what I'm saying, we'll see what happens. We'll get my bank account set up. Shit might be rough, but we'll figure it out. All right, let's keep it pushing. Let's talk about the rest of these regular stories for the week. Let's start with Helldivers, man. One of the greatest shows of community we've ever seen in the gaming industry period, gaming history period. There was a whole controversy that lasted about like 4 days, honestly, because the report came out, the official news came out, which actually was in the first kind of stages of the game when it first dropped, that PSN logins would be required and would be enforced on PC to kind of get connected with the game and fully play the game. That sprouted back up after the server issues were fixed at the beginning of the game's life cycle and everything was steady. PlayStation tried to reinforce this and enforce it at the level on PC, and for the people who didn't have PlayStation Network available in their countries, about 177 countries worth, they got rid of that. They said, hey, you're not playing Helldivers, and they just removed access. And there was a huge, ungodly uproar of negativity and fighting back on this. The devs were very active themselves. Pilstead was very active, saying they were in conversation with Sony trying to get something sorted or in place to kind of get Sony to either reverse decision or come to some type of agreement. After all of this, I think it was about 250 or 350,000 negative comments on Steam. Absolutely tanked Helldivers 2's what's it called, review scores and stuff like that, which may or may not have been egged on by particular community managers, but we don't know that for sure. But after a while, after all that vitriol from the fan base, Sony reversed the decision. They said, no, whatever, never mind, we'll back off. Sorry guys, we didn't mean to do all that. And some countries are still waiting to get their access back, but Helldivers, they showed up, the community showed up, and they showed out to make sure, saying this doesn't happen on PC. When your thoughts?
I think that this was like a really good showing of the community banding together on something that's actually important. The people who already bought the game and not being able to play it is like, it's just unacceptable. And I think one of the best examples of like ways that they could have did it, and I can't remember the name of the dude. I think it's like Pirate something. Maybe it's Pirate Software. I can't remember his name, but he's on Twitch. He was very vocal about it.
Yeah.
Pirate Software. He brought out a really good idea. He was like, the thing that would have made so many people sign up on like connect their PlayStation accounts would have been something that to incentivize it, as opposed to just being like, hey, you have to do this now and fuck everybody else. If you would have told people, hey, you're gonna get like $5 worth of super credits for linking your account, everybody and their mother would have linked their accounts. It would have been easy to do that. But instead, you try to force it on people, and in the end, also fuck over people who weren't even able to buy the game in their country because of the PSN terms of service. Like, it just didn't make sense, and it was one of those moments of like, I think it was one of those moments of the PlayStation being like, hey, we need to boost our numbers. Like, it's all about metrics. So they're trying to boost their numbers and using their successful game to do so. When in reality, if they just had a really good service, they wouldn't have to boost anything. They wouldn't have to use tactics to boost their numbers. And that's, I think, the really shitty thing about it is that, like, they have the resources and the opportunity to really make something that rivals at Xbox Game Pass or rivals Xbox in general. But instead of doing the right way of doing things by creating like a competitive product or by making their service something that people actually want to buy into, they do shit like this where they're like, hey, we're gonna force people who already play our game to do this so that they can continue to play the game.
Yeah. Again, this was a week of, why is everybody such a fuck up at the executive level of these companies, bro? Why are you all such fuck ups? Like, bro, everybody's been playing. You already know PC is well averse to adding too many launches that are already, you know what I'm saying, like more than necessary at this point. They're already annoyed at the 7 they have to already use and download and stuff like that. What makes you think they want to add one with a console? You know what I mean? That's off rip. And it just felt like beforehand, but when the situation was just developing, it felt like a really big slap in the face to all the work that what's it called, that Arrowhead established. Yeah, it was a real slap in the face to me, because they just came in and said, yeah, oh yeah, that's great. Now all of you, yeah, I'm saying we run this, Sony runs this, so y'all get on PlayStation. And again, like you said, literally all they did, the only reason this was for was to boost these numbers and say, oh, look at all these people who joined PlayStation Network and stuff. Our users are jumping into the heavens, blah, blah, blah. You want to create all this positive PR and buzz or whatever, and some random executive might get a bonus for all these PSN signups and bullshit. And it wasn't necessary. It really wasn't necessary to, you know, say establish anything. It really wasn't, outside of just, you know, just some type of metrics to show off and parade around. And what came from this was one of the best displays of community I've ever seen in gaming. This was one of the best displays I've ever seen in gaming. Some of it went a little bit too far. I don't know why I hate Helldivers 1. Maybe some people on accident, they were like, oh, Helldivers, and they dropped a negative review. I might chalk it up to that, because I'm like, damn, bro, why I hit Helldivers 1? What did they do? Like, you know what I'm saying, hit the 50 cent. Why you say fuck me for? But it wasn't that. It was mostly an incredible rallying. And it's honestly funny, because I'm like, you guys, this game trains everybody to be on the same page and flock together for an objective. Why would you do this when they're in the prime of their lives at being a community, as moving as one singular block with common goals? Like, why would you do that to this game, bro? I don't think people read into this as deep as they should have, bro. Like, this was not gonna land. This was not gonna land, man. It was hilarious to see that in real time, and I'm very proud of the work from the community that they've done to, you know what I'm saying, fight back against this, fight with their wallets, fight with their, you know what I'm saying, with their minds and their accounts and what they can influence, and they show they can make a difference. And honestly, credit to the Arrowhead team. You know what I'm saying? They tried to keep it as peaceful as possible, but they're also, I know deep down they're like, yo, it's unfortunate we have to play under their rules, but it's fucked up. But they cultivated such a very, very strong community that's been, honestly, for the most part, across most of these issues and topics that we talked about, whether it be the nerfing and balancing, whether it be, you know what I'm saying, this issue, whether it be the server things at the beginning when they were like really, really rough and people were trying to get in and stuff, the community's been very, very positive. It's been very positive. I've seen, it's been like 75% positivity, reassurance, you know, community, fun, and 25% people just bitching about stuff. I find that very, very endearing, and very, very positive, man. I really enjoyed this, the end, the response to the bullshit that could have went forward if Sony got their way and people didn't stand on business and really spoke their mind online. So they did good, man. The Helldivers community, man, pat yourselves on the back. We did good, Helldivers. You get your mandated 2-minute break in a second. You know what I mean? Clap it up for them. But speaking of Sony, let's switch gears, but not really switch gears, if you understand what I'm saying. Sony, they did this PSN requirement. They said, oh yeah, you had that PSN to access Helldivers. And just as that was done, this whole other report came out that Ghost of Tsushima's developers have revealed that basically PC players will need a PlayStation Network account to play the multiplayer mode. Single player doesn't need it, but the Legends multiplayer, the co-op stuff, that will require a PSN account. So with all this stuff that happened with Helldivers, this thing pops up. How do you feel?
Man. Yeah, I just don't get it, do you?
They just
don't get it. This is not gonna end well for you guys. I think it's better than the Helldivers thing, just because now you set the expectation, like, hey,
yeah,
don't expect to not have to sign up for this, because you will have to sign up for this. Like, be very well aware this is something that you will have to do. But I do think that there needs to be a reason to download this. Like, if they really wanted to make this like a competitive thing, what they could do is create a PlayStation Network, like a PSN login, whatever, yada yada, regular shit, regular launcher, but make it so that when you buy games on your PlayStation, you get them on the PC, or you get them at a very reduced price, like $10, and you can get it on your PlayStation and your PC type shit. Like something smart like that.
You want PlayStation to give value to PC players out of virtue?
Yeah, like that's the thing, is like there's ways of going about it where you guys would definitely get the people involved that you would want, but it's just not gonna happen because money,
bro. It's so funny, bro. It's so funny, man. You corporations are so funny, dog. You guys aren't slick either. You guys aren't slick. Again, unfortunately, you get away with a lot of stuff, but we see the movements. We pre the movements, man. Helldivers 2, that thing happened. You ran up against a freight train. You're not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? You weren't gonna get away with anything there. Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like it's gonna be maybe slightly a different story. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully people can galvanize, around this and say, hey, yo, we don't want that either, in my opinion. But I'm kind of looking past this to see why would they be so interested as to putting their PSN login and stamp on all these PC players now. Why are they doing it now? You know what I'm saying? What is the point of this? Because beforehand they dropped all, they dropped The Last of Us and all stuff like that and blah, 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 other titles that didn't really have any tie and they didn't care. Why now? And again, this goes to the conversation of they understand that PC gaming is a frontier that they need to tap into. And I feel like they're leaning in very heavily on we want to put our stamp on it, so much so that we want identifiers. We want to, again, we want to really solidly kind of push our way into the PC environments. You know what I mean? And I feel like they're doing this to kind of start that process. And somebody brought up an idea on Twitter. I think it was a person named Yogensha. Shout out to Yogensha. But a really good thought about this. And I don't want it to go that way. But if this is kind of the first building blocks to try and start saying, hey, first and foremost, you guys got a PSN login. Yeah, that happened. Cool. But after that, starting to build up towards saying, okay, you have a PSN login, you're on PC, you're playing these PlayStation games, you need to pay for PS Plus to get online for these games. And we know how that conversation runs. I think this is the start of them trying to at least poke and prod towards it. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, you're saying, so let me, before I kind of snap. You're saying they would ask you to pay for PlayStation Plus to play games online?
I'm not saying they'd do it now, but I'm saying them requiring a PSN login right now on multiplayer games. I feel like I'm not saying it explicitly does, but it could set the precedent that they say, yo, you need a login to play this stuff, to play online with other PC players or whatever, blah, blah, blah. There may be a time where they want to integrate cross-platform between PC and PlayStation. They say, why aren't we charging PC players to play online for these games? And they'll eventually come to that conclusion and say, hey, if you want to play this game online, you got to pay for PSN. I don't care if you came through Steam. You have a PSN login now. You have to pay through.
I don't think that they would do that, mostly because it would just straight up destroy their... It would destroy their hold in PC, the one that's very non-existent. But the thing is that with PCs, that you have so much freedom, they can't really instill that in you and be like, you have to go through us, because we don't really have to. Like, that's the beauty about PC, because there's so many different launchers, so many different markets, so many different storefronts. You don't have to pay for PlayStation Plus, because like, if there's nothing that PlayStation Plus can offer us that we will need, right? Like, they can't be like, well, we have the best deals, because they don't. Steam has better deals and it's free. We have the better servers. They don't. Like, it's factually untrue. PlayStation has some of the worst servers, actually. So like, there's no benefit to having PlayStation Plus on PC. Like, them even having a PC market is kind of like a luxury for them. Like, it's really like, it's kind of like we're doing them. We have a lot of the PC players have a lot of the power, and they can easily just not engage with their shit. And even just showing how people were ready to just like refund their game and drop Helldivers, I would hope that they're smart enough to realize that is not even a route they can go down, because it would just straight up destroy whatever hopes they had of being in the PC market. I
don't think this is a slight on them being dumb or smart. It's just, as we've seen, there's a lot of smart people in gaming, but will the greed push you somewhere to make a mistake? And they know they dominate console market. They know they dominate console stuff, and it's going on record to say, hey, to really substantiate what we're doing, we got to start engaging with PC more. The new again, what's it called? A lot of the talk from the CEOs and big wigs at Sony in Japan have been like, yo, we want to start engaging with the PC market and establishing stuff there, to kind of see this next range and frontier that we have in terms of, you know, the profits and accessing player base. It's not necessarily being smart or dumb. I feel like they just want to, they're gonna test us. They're gonna test people. They're gonna really try their hand to see how much they can get away with, and if they can get close enough to it, I think they're gonna push the button. I really think they're gonna push the button. There are things that I wish weren't an established thing, but people got close enough to where they could push the button to see if people allow it. A few people did, and then it became a standard. This is the hardest place to push that button, though, because PC and online, PC online gaming and paying for it have never meshed. I think they never will. But this is a dangerous game. This is a dangerous game with a lot of different stakes, because, again, PlayStation does have good games. You know what I'm saying? Multiplayer games, I don't know exactly how they're gonna, what appeal there is to certain ones. They have to drop some phenomenal multiplayer shit to really be like, oh, everybody on the PC market has to play it, or most people on the PC market on Steam has to play it. But they're pushing the line. They pushing it, bro. I think they're too themselves. Sony is too Sony to not look at that, to not have an extra set of eyes on it. Like, damn, we could. I'm not gonna make the run, but I'm gonna look at it though. I'm gonna see it. They're side eyeing it heavy right now, in my opinion. And this is just the building blocks. They're playing very carefully with how they approach it. That's why they're just dropping the PSN requirement in, again, the couple games that have it right here now. Helldivers, again, it turned out to be a huge game, but it wasn't marketed as a huge game. They didn't drop that requirement to kill its flow. You know what I mean? So right now they're just dipping the toe to see what they can get away with and what they can allow over this next year as they come out with more shit. But in my opinion, I gotta be a pessimist. I gotta be negative. They're going to try this shit. They're going to try this shit, and I hope to the heavens that the response is immediate vitriol and knocking that shit down 3 pegs. That's where I stand, because I know from what we've seen from all these corporations, from most of these guys over the past years, in the past week, they're gonna be greedy for greed's sake. They're gonna push the button if they can. They're gonna do it if they can.
No, yeah, I could see them doing it. But I also could see. I could think of a better route for them to take would be to just have in-game like bonuses for having PlayStation Plus account, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll definitely see what happens.
I hear it. All right, let's push on and talk about Nintendo. First and foremost, we had just a quick report and something that they were kind of really focusing on in terms of their development as a a company, a brand. Their president Furukawa, he said in the most recent investor Q&A, and he's been harping on this for a while, that Nintendo's focus on hiring new graduates and experienced professionals into Nintendo versus acquisitions and straight up buying new companies through M&A to introduce into their portfolio. They want to develop people who understand the Nintendo brand within the company, and just integrate people that way. So first and foremost, let's stop on that and talk about their process. How do you feel about what their approach is when it comes to introducing talent into the Nintendo brands?
I think that makes sense, because that way you have a good starting point, as opposed to somebody who was making the best example was the Rocksteady shit. Like, hey, we are experienced making this. Well, Warner Brothers wants that. So you gotta have this point of friction, and now you have to try to find a way of compromising. Whereas hey, we're gonna bring you in, we're gonna teach you our ways, and we're just gonna have you work on shit. And taking care of your developers is also very important too, because that's a point that I think is if you keep these people on and you keep these people working for you, and they just know the brand, they know the company, they know what they're doing. You are more likely to succeed with them than bringing in random new people who succeeded in their own by themselves doing their own shit, and now you want them to do something for you. It's just not, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So them bringing in new graduates and experienced people outside of acquiring full-on studios, because instead of acquiring studios, why don't you just pay them to make you shit, right? Why are you buying them outright when you can just say, hey, I'd rather just buy the milk. Buying the milk, I think, is cheaper than buying the cow, and that's something that Xbox just bought way too many cows when they should have just been paying for milk. Really.
Yeah. And I'll kind of say my piece on this and then segue into this bigger conversation I wanted to talk about as well. But yeah, Nintendo has the right idea. I think they have the right idea with this. And I think this is a very, very solid strategy of just if you drip feed people and you drip feed talent, and really nurture the talent into understanding what Nintendo's all about, the different teams, guiding them to where their talents will shine the best, and also they'll have the best understanding to carry projects forward and carry creativity forward in different ways to again make great titles, make great things happen at the company. I think they're onto it again, just kind of going through straight war of attrition and just buying up and doing war instead of doing a cultural exchange. Is I don't know why that's an example to me, but it's instead of just trying to wipe through a whole country and stuff like that and tear everything down and just take the resources and pillage from it, actually exchanging with that to to create a steady flow of enrichment instead of just trying to take it and go from there. I feel like that's a pretty apt example, or at least an apt parallel to what I've seen at how Nintendo approaches their talent development and how they approach their portfolio stuff. For the most part, they have acquired stuff, but in the past, of course, every company has, but what's it called, in comparison to things like Sony, in comparison to things like Microsoft and Xbox, they have taken the route of very calm, sustainable exchange and integration into their environments, rather than kind of the straight chop down tree, take the tree home and figure out how to grow a tree, what I mean, that Sony and Xbox have employed. But that brings me to this further conversation of looking at this week, looking at the moves that Xbox, Microsoft, Sony have made. Nintendo was ahead of the curve. Nintendo was right about this thing. I want to preface this conversation with this first. None of these companies are perfect. Before we get into talking about this, none of these companies are perfect. I saw a tweet the other day that, these are the two big companies. They do no wrong. They have good business practices, only good business, no bad business practices. They drop great games and they shut up. They said Steam and they said Nintendo, and I almost smacked my monitor straight on, head on, bro. I almost smacked my monitor clean off the desk. I was like, are you serious? Steam has already had its litany of own issues. You can Google them if you please, bro, but having that big of a domination over the PC launcher market and stuff like that comes with its own problems. You can be the judge of that, but Steam ain't no saint. let's get that started. Nintendo, we only had to go into the beginnings of how they don't care about, again, most of their fan base with esports. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about setting up tournaments and stuff like that. They shut half of them shits down. Their online still sucks. Like, there's still issues with Nintendo and how they build out their entire brand, their entire offering in terms of gaming. But let's get one thing straight. With their development pipeline, with the internal, with protecting and fostering value for their IPs, for their games, they were ahead of the curve. For presentation of these games, they've been ahead of the curve for at least, I want to say 11 years. What was the first Direct? 2012, 2013?
Something like that.
Yeah, they've been ahead of the curve since then. They've been ahead of that curve since then. The Wii U does not count. Again, I've said this before on Twitter, and I will exclude it again. The Wii U was just, I don't know what happened with the Wii U. That's why I said they're not perfect, but they've been ahead of the curve. And with that, the key word has been sustainability. Sustainability. Not looking for, oh, what's the highest peak of revenue we can reach? How can we keep churning out growth every month? Things don't continually grow. You know what I mean? Things that continually grow are usually not that good in the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can automatically Google things that continually grow that aren't healthy for you and stuff like that. That's probably not a far jump for you to make, guys. Go Google that if you need to. But like, the goal, in my opinion, should be sustainability, and Nintendo, at least on the gaming and development front of talent, have exemplified that on many different fronts. When shit got tough, so Iwata sat there and said, yo, I'm gonna cut my salary to make sure these people is all good, because this is our talent. These are people who make the money back for us, so we're gonna protect them. He took that salary pay cut. He did that. The teams never really changed, or there's never been too many big shakeups. Like, again, the stats here say from the reports and stuff, Nintendo Japan, they have a 98.8% retention rate. For every 100 people that leave that company, one person leaves. For every people that join, one person leaves. You know how solid that is? You know how good that is? Like, in an industry where turnover, where studio closures, where just absolute hellfire on the people who make games great is commonplace, Nintendo has done very well to show we can be sustainable, we can be healthy, we can create great games and not sacrifice our developers in the process. We don't have to sacrifice the key ingredient that makes our games great to make great games. We don't have to be in this constant cycle of pain to create great stuff. They've been ahead of the curve on a lot of different fronts, and it all leads back to sustainability. Again, not wasting so many resources and launching Nintendo Direct so they don't have to be everywhere all at once. They can announce stuff on their own time because they're that big. At first, we all laughed at it. We were like, yo, why you not at E3? You know what I'm saying? Y'all bugging out. Why you're not at E3? And it ends up being the fact that they were ahead of the curve. Everybody drops their own showcases now, and nobody cares about E3. There's only Jeff Keighley sit down there with Kojima and stuff like that every summer and shit. Like, they were ahead of the curve. Their development pipelines and dropping things how they do, again, they're not perfect, but they are sustainable. And that's what a lot of these companies need to hope to achieve. They need to strive to be that sustainable. So just wonder, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about what I'm saying?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I think growth is important, but it should not be the end all be all. And I also think that it's like the way it's seen in a lot of these spaces, and especially in video games, is like, if we're not growing at a certain rate, then we're failing. And I just don't think that that's true. Even though this is video games are more mainstream, it is still very much a niche. There's still a lot of people that I come into my day-to-day where I'll talk about video games. They're like, oh yeah, I don't engage with it at all, really. I don't really care that much. It's not like movies, it's not like TV where like you just need to put a movie in front of somebody and then they're gonna start really being into movies. Like, it's not like that at all. The barrier of entry is a little bit steeper than watching a movie or watching a TV show. You're not gonna be able to get all the people on the planet to play video games. So instead of fostering a culture, an idea of trying to continuously expand, it is better to try to retain the people that are there while also expanding. And I think that's the difference between like Nintendo and a PlayStation, or actually Nintendo and an Xbox more specifically, that instead of trying to like buy up the competition and then have them like churn out games, like it just doesn't really make sense. I do agree with you that Nintendo, when it comes to things that they're not in the forefront of, they do fall short, like esports, or even just like online services.
Yeah.
But like they are definitely the beginners of like good development cycles and creating impactful games and like game development as a whole. They've been doing this shit for a while. So I think that when it comes to that type of shit, they know exactly what they're doing. Like when it comes to creating video games, they don't really, even the worst Nintendo games are fucking gems compared to the worst PlayStation and Xbox games. And while some Nintendo games, I've thought of many Nintendo games that have dropped with like issues. There are games that dropped on Sony and PlayStation and Xbox that just straight up don't work.
They're unplayable.
Right? Like it's awful, and they're working with better hardware too. So like I think Nintendo is somebody that, and like I said earlier in this episode, they're somebody who's made their own lane. They've realized that doing the shit that Xbox and Sony are doing is pointless when you could create your own market. Like with Nintendo, if Nintendo releases a bad game, Nintendo fans just don't buy it. If PlayStation releases a bad game, they may go buy an Xbox game, or they may go move over to that market because they know that they can. But Nintendo will drop a bad game and then fix it and then get that money back. Like the people on Nintendo's ecosystem are not moving. They're not shifting gears. There are a lot of people who will be like, I used to have an Xbox 360, then I switched over to PlayStation, or I had a PlayStation, then I switched over to an Xbox. But not many people say, oh, I was on my GameCube and then I just stopped playing Nintendo games altogether. Like no, even when they buy Xboxes or buy PS4s, they still buy the Switch. They still buy a 3DS. Like their community is very, very set in their ways, and it's a good thing for Nintendo. There are some things that conversations that need to be had about the things that Nintendo does. Like, hey, we're at like Pokemon 12. Where's the voice acting? Or like where are certain things that feel like should be standard in video games as a whole right now? Like where are the accessibility options? But what you can say about Nintendo is that they know what they're doing when it comes to developing video games. So I think that their call is something that honestly other people should really start taking note of. And I think that PlayStation and Xbox, I think PlayStation is more closer to Nintendo than Xbox is, because I think Xbox is just straight up buying shit for potential, whereas PlayStation kind of like nurtures shit then buys it. But even then, some of the calls PlayStation makes is just straight up corporate greed, and they need to start realizing that they need to foster shit and slow down their aggressive expansion and just keep creating quality shit. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really going to drive people to come to your market. It's not all the promises, it's actually executing. And like the good word of mouth goes so far, because that's really what sold Helldivers. It wasn't necessarily the marketing strategy. Don't get me, the marketing was great, but even when
the marketing was the word of mouth.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like even when we talked about it, seeing the trailers, we were like, oh, that game looks cool, but I was never gonna buy it at first. But when I hear all my friends talking about it, like that's what sold me. And that's really what I think a lot of these game developers don't realize, that you can put money into all these games, you can market them, you can give them to content creators, but if the game isn't good, it's just not gonna move. And to get to even that point to sell those good games, you need to have a good development cycle. You need to have people in your team that have been doing it for a long time and know how shit works. But
yep, and I want to piggyback back off that to say, with Sony specifically, there's that example of they were scrambling for a multiplayer game or whatever, said like, you know what, fuck it, just buy Bungie, fuck it, just buy Bungie. They have experience, I think they have Destiny, whatever we're gonna do, they'll fill that gap, let's make it happen. And they haven't bought them outright, but Sony, again, Bungie has been performing well. I don't think necessarily they've been I don't know what varying level of support that they've had for it, but like, is that going to solve the gap? But I feel like there might have been more than one studio in Sony's banner that could have produced a good multiplayer game if given the right amount of time. You know what I mean? Marathon, still the jury's out, and they just said, yeah, well, Marathon's another Bungie title, actually, not that, but what's it called? For example, I'll say something. Honestly, I'm not saying, damn, I just remembered. Fuck, I'm so mad. Last of Us Factions. Fuck, I thought I forgot that game. Fuck, oh my gosh, I'm mad all over again. If y'all gave that fucking game some time and not made it a live service to cash cow it and pimp it out, maybe you would have had a fun multiplayer experience that everybody wanted to play, and then you would have gotten some good word of mouth and a sustainable product for it. But no, you wanted to throw money at it. You wanted money to get generated. You want money trees. And that's not what gaming is. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, how State of Decay pissed you off, that just pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie, that got me heated. Wow, that actually got me heated for a second. I can't even believe it. That's bullshit. Nah, man. Let me get off this point though. I will say that again, it all comes back to the value that's created from how consistent and nurtured the development process is, how well the developers are treated. If you look at another example, Capcom, look how good of a return Capcom has had since Resident Evil Biohazard. You know what I'm saying? They've been killing it, and they literally, as of this morning, they've dropped their record. They've dropped their numbers and stuff. It's a record-breaking year for Capcom. Dragon's Dogma 2, Street Fighter 6 carryover and stuff from, you know what I'm saying, their fiscal and stuff. Resident Evil 4, Monster Hunter World. This is their 7th consecutive year of record high profit. This is the highest net sales that Capcom has ever had, and I think they've really taken a step back from Biohazard on, and they've really nurtured the IPs that they've been putting out, from the Monster Hunters to Resident Evil. Street Fighter 6 was one of the best fighting games we've ever seen, still is. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's lost, you know, prime traction or whatever, you can't debate how good that game is. You know what I'm saying? Dragon's Dogma 2, you could debate, you know, say how great that game is, whether it's gonna be in conversations, but still the hype that it generated, overall the gameplay is good. Like, they've had time to take a step back and focus in on what they need to develop, how they need to develop it, what the process is going to look like, take care of their own, and make some great shit. That's another prime example. Sustainability. They're in a sustainable spot, and then they're getting feedback from their player base of like, yo, what we could bring back some stuff. What could we bring back? Oh, we want to do some new stuff here. You know what I'm saying? With the next Monster Hunter or whatever, with the next new IP or blah blah blah. Like, they're on a great track. Capcom is only going to get bigger at this point because they've laid the foundation of sustainability and quality and taking care of their development processes. They've done that. They've done the work. They've done the work to cultivate inside their own instead of buy and automatically expect results. You know what I mean? Like, it's a difference. It's a difference, bro. And I feel like all of these companies need to take a step back and start looking at the sustainability picture. How do we cultivate this art? How do we cultivate this gaming space to be producing great stuff, a diverse array of stuff that captures the minds of so many different people, captures the fun, the spirit of what gaming is, and also how can we make it sustainable so that this process can be replicated, can be enriched over the next 100, 200 years without us having a critical fallout of XYZ Studios not even existing anymore. You know what I mean? Nintendo on this front is a blueprint. Nintendo was ahead of this curve the entire time. You know what I mean? They were ahead of this curve for at least the past decade, and everybody should be following suit when it comes to their treatment of their devs, how they view, you know what I'm saying, the development process, how they take care of their brand, and how they take care of talent to produce these games on such a consistent basis. Simple. All right, let's move on to this story here. So we got some news, man. MultiVersus. This is actually some positive news this week, damn it. This is actually some positive news. MultiVersus is coming back, of course, this month, and we got the reveal trailer for the Joker. The Joker is coming to the roster for MultiVersus, man. I believe we're getting a gameplay trailer on Monday, May the 13th. So we're gonna see some extra gameplay there, but the Joker's on the way. How do you feel?
I think this is cool. I wish it would have been a different Batman villain just because Harley Quinn kind of fits. I feel like what the old Joker's archetype might be like, but I do think that it's cool to get Mark Hamill as the Joker again. Like, I think he said it himself, like he'd only ever play the Joker across from
Kevin Conroy.
Across from Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. So I'm really happy to see hearing his voice as a Joker is like amazing. This is and I think it's a really good first character to throw back in when the game drops. I think on the 28th of this month is when it comes back out. So like this is a really, really good move on their part for being like, hey, we're getting the people invested again. Like, that trailer, I think I've watched it like 2 times now. And again, I'm not even like super excited for MultiVersus to come back, but hearing his voice again, like I was like, damn, nah, this might be a movement. Like this I might have to tap in. So I'm excited to see what the Joker plays like, and I'm also excited to see like the voice lines that we get. Like they're they're moving really well with their marketing. I wish they would do less like random ass collaborations like the NHL for some reason. I was just like,
why
okay.
the hell y'all got Bugs Bunny and stuff on the ice? Why are you moving like this?
Like, okay, and again, I really don't think it's the developers. I do think it's a Warner Brothers thing, but in this case, they're so tied to Warner Brothers. If Warner Brothers is like, yo, we need you guys to make multiverse fucking themed urns for people who get cremated, like they're gonna do it because they have to, because without the Warner Brothers IPs, this game is pretty dead. So I'm really excited, and hopefully this game comes out, because what I've seen from their technical videos and whatnot, that they're really trying to make this game a way better experience than it was when it released. So fingers crossed that it does numbers.
Yep. MultiVersus, man. I just want y'all to cook, and I think this is a good way to do it. Joker's a good way to, again, introduce people back, and it's like, oh shit, the roster's really getting bigger. And I can't wait to see his moveset. I can't wait to see what develops, you know what I'm saying, from that, how he's different to Harley Quinn. But yeah, in terms of like the rollout and stuff, this is exactly what needs to happen. You need to drop these big characters that people want to see ASAP. You need to drop them in a solid, consistent funnel, and I hope that time off was used to really straighten out what that funnel is going to be, how consistent these characters drop, like once every, once a month, once every 6 weeks. I think once every maybe like 6 or 7 weeks is probably a decent let's say content cadence. And make sure these are good, make sure you have the fixes, and do your own thing, or drop them in packs if you need to. I don't know, but make sure your rollout is consistent, because that's my biggest thing. I think the gameplay, you've done well to, you're gonna move it into a stronger, state with the hit registry and stuff like that. From what I've seen, the improvements to the game speed and the game flow, the feel. Now it's just about the content and making sure you're back with a bang. That's really it. Joker's a good start. Let's see where we go from here. All right, let's get to the one story we have in the trailer trove, and it's actually good news. It's actually kind of good news. So Marvel has been talking about their rollouts, what they've been, looking towards in that regard, and Marvel has decided they're going to scale back their output. Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, bigwig, hotshot, whatever you want to call it, they announced Marvel will reduce their output to 2 to 3 movies per year and only 2 TV shows per year. How do you feel about this scale back?
I think it's really smart. I haven't watched a Marvel thing in years, mostly because of this exact problem. Like, I was literally on Disney Plus the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot about Quantumania. Like, I haven't watched that. I haven't watched still haven't seen the Marvels yet. Like, I haven't seen any of this shit, and it's just because there's too much. Like, I just know that it's always going to be there. It was similar to like the Pixar things that I have, where like when I was in college, there was like a Pixar movie like every damn month, so I was just like, I don't really care about watching Moana in theater. I was like, I watched Moana in theaters, and then I watched that shit like 8 other times because it was everywhere. And like every time somebody had like an event or something on college, they would be like, oh, we're showing Moana, whatever the fuck. Like, I just got burnt out from all this shit. So after Infinity War, they really should have just slowed down a little bit. Like, I don't think anybody would have been upset had they slowed down a bit, but they kept trying to like push shit that people didn't really know anything about, and it just, like, Winter Soldier and fucking, like, come on, man. Like, I don't want to watch a shit like, and I know what you're gonna say, the show's kind of good. How do you slow all this shit down a little bit? I think it would have been better received, because then it would be drip feeding, and people being like, who are so excited about Marvel, like, oh, let me consume this show. But now when you have a show coming out every other month, you can be like, well, I'm gonna skip this because it doesn't matter, and I'm gonna skip that because it also doesn't matter. Whereas, like, I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones. If they were to put out 3 Game of Thrones shows at the same time, like spin-offs and shit, I don't have to watch all of them, and then shit just gets wasted. So I think this is a really good call on their part, because honestly, I wasn't watching all that shit to begin with. But now that they're slowing it down, maybe I'll catch up.
Finally, like, some reprieve. And I feel like, again, there's just so many parallels. Everything relates to everything is one of my favorite quotes ever. Just because, damn, like, there's so much things. Like, if you keep moving at 1,000 miles per hour and you're trying to get people onto the train, and while you're moving at 1,000 miles per hour, it's just gonna feel overwhelming. I feel like we're doing like so much to try and like get like, we have to understand the characters, we have to understand all the subplots, we have to understand all the Easter eggs that you're dropping, we have to understand, you know what I'm saying, this character from this other movie is like related to other, like, there is real like there's real like crunch time behind it, and I get it. If you're really interested in it, you're gonna do it. But if you're expecting the blockbuster numbers of Endgame and Infinity War and stuff like that were a 10-year build, and you want to try and immediately kickstart that again, you're crazy. You're crazy. So reducing this output and giving more breathing time between projects and allowing people to catch up with the previous ones gives a whole lot more weight to what you drop next and that build to those next big bads, the next whatever. Again, the Secret Wars, the Kang Dynasty, whatever. I don't even know if that's going to be a movie after all this stuff happened with Jonathan Majors, but like these things have a lot more weight to it now because they weren't just, you know what I'm saying, funneled out. It's not the initial flurry where everybody was just new to the MCU and you could drop whatever and people are immediately in it. It's not Hulkamania no more, dog. You have to move with a little bit more intent behind what you drop so people can really get latched on, really understand what's being built in terms of individual characters, their storylines, characters, how they intertwine, and the big story that you're building with the next phases, and you know how people digest that. You have to have a bit more intent behind that, and I'm glad that they're having the scale back, bro. That was one of my biggest gripes, bro. It got too much. It got to be too much, and I had to take a break, bro. Again, X-Men 97 was the first thing Marvel that I watched in a minute, you know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with none of its MCU stuff, and it also, side note, it is the best thing that Marvel has put out in terms of TV in the past, like, to probably 10-15 years. I don't care. Debate y'all mamas. I'm gonna be real with you. You can put Endgame in no particular order. Actually, Infinity War, X-Men, and Endgame, but in some order. But I'm putting this first right now off GP. I'm sorry. It's fantastic. But Marvel, you're doing the right thing here. Just what's up with the cable bundle thing? That's a whole nother problem. We'll deal with that later. But yes, Marvel, good job. You're scaling back. All right, listen, that's all the notes I got, man. That's all the notes I got in this episode. Anything that we might have missed, anything we might have skipped over?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, nah, I think we're good. I honestly think we're okay. I think there's a brand new paid what's it called, war bond that dropped today for Helldivers. If you're interested in that, I'm not sure what it was. There was actually a brand new a couple of screens that released for Batman Capes Crusader, which is like a Batman series that's like filmed in the 40s. It's based on like the 1940s and stuff like that. That looks really cool. Yeah, I'm still listening to Not Like Us. I don't know what's happening, dog. Outside of that, we good. So yeah, give me your closing notes, dog. Let's get on out of here.
Make sure you drink your water, play the games you like, and just overall be a nice person. We'll catch you next time. I believe, do we have one more podcast together?
Yeah, I think we'll have one more before we leave. If there's enough news between now and next week, like Wednesday, I think we'll have one more. I think we'll be okay. Yeah.
So we'll have one more podcast with me and Trip, and then there may be a When Easy Power Hour when Trip goes on vacation. So we'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah. So yeah, I will be out of pocket in like the second half of the month. I will be back before E3 season begins. So don't worry, we're gonna have a real, you know what I'm saying, when June hits, it's go time. Where no cooldown is an overdrive for the summer. I hope y'all know that. But yeah, make sure you guys go check out the podcast on all platforms. Of course, we're available everywhere. Just type in No Cooldown Pod. We'll be right there. Yeah, we're gonna have some good stuff in the summer, bro. I cannot wait for what the summer's gonna bring. My closing message is, hey, they not like us. I'm sorry, it's in the background. I'm sorry. I had to let it go. Man. Listen, make sure them people is not like you, bro. Make sure you're sustainable. Make sure you love your people, that, you know what I'm saying, love your people, drink your water, play your games. Make sure you keep showing love to the world, put positive energy out. And again, be sustainable, people. Be sustainable. That's all we got for this episode of No Cooldown Podcast. We are out of here. OVO. All right, cool.